One of the mottos, one of the popular mottos of the men's rights movement is that men's rights are human rights. And I don't know that I coined that term, that phrase, but I do know that by putting it on a poster, I at least popularized it within a subset of the movement that I was inhabiting at the time. Today I want to unpack that phrase and a question that arises out of it. When I created the poster a couple of years back that said men's rights are human rights, it was a poster which contained on it some other questions and rhetorical answers. Specifically, I named a group of different ethnicities and sexual demographics and religious demographics, and I asked the question of anybody looking at the poster, you don't hate this demographic, do you? Of course not, because you're a decent human being. And I named, I think, 4 groups. In each case, I asked the question, you don't hate this group? Of course not, because why? You're a decent human being. Essentially making the case that hatred and fear of another group based on their demographic was, illogical, was not what a normal, healthy person does. And then, of course, at the end I asked the question on the poster, you don't hate or fear men, do you? ? And then I didn't supply an answer, I just repeated the question, do you? Do you hate or fear men? And then the punchline at the bottom of the poster was, men's rights are human rights, essentially saying that there's no real difference. These are all just categories of human, and the categories are arbitrary. And of course this poster was torn down and people stenciled the word wrong on it and so on. I thought that was actually, kind of delicious. Men's rights are human rights stenciled with the word wrong. I mean, at least I got the people opposing this movement to admit that they were refusing to recognize a group of human beings as human. I no longer actually think that's what was going on. Whenever the issues of, this movement, homelessness, suicide, unemployment, male genital mutilation, unequal sentencing in the courts, when any of the more serious issues of the movement are raised, aside from the usual quacking of you just hate women, which is just nonsensical noise, when the issues specifically are raised, what tends to happen is somebody self-identifying as a feminist will try to silence that discussion by mocking the issue. Not claiming the issue isn't real, but mocking people who have the temerity to be concerned about the issue. This was famously demonstrated in Toronto a couple of years back at the Nathanson and Young lecture put on by Cafe. There's a feminist who has gained the popular nickname Big Red, and Dan Perrins was having a debate with her, and I was standing a couple of feet away, and Dan pointed out that the suicide rate in North America is 4 to 5 times higher for men than it is for women. For every, every single woman who kills herself, 4 to 5 men also kill themselves. It's a huge number. It's not like 55 and 65%. This is 4 to 5 times more suicides. Now, if you don't look at who's dying, and you just look at 2 different groups, and one with this massively inflated suicide rate, you'd go, wow, there's a real problem, we gotta do something about this, figure out what the issue is. But this particular feminist, who was there to disrupt the event, began in response to this. She didn't contest the number, because it's not really a contestable number. She began to sing Cry Me a River. She began to mock Dan and myself for our foolish or, I don't know what kind of adjective you want to put on that, our stupid and irrelevant concern over people who are so traumatized or in so much pain that they kill themselves. She began to sing the song Cry Me a River. Whatever issue that you want to address, whether it's male infant genital mutilation or suicide or some other problem, homelessness maybe, one of the standard responses is, "Oh, you poor little thing," and then the crocodile tears, and the mockery. To mock human beings in pain. To mock the injury of infants. To mutilate small children and make fun of that. And this is also famously demonstrated by I bathe in male tears. And there's a fairly well-known feminist who recently uploaded a photograph of herself wearing a t-shirt that said, "I bathe in male tears," at a beach with the ocean behind her, to indicate, I suppose, that that's the amount of human misery that she takes delight in. And this is the conundrum, this is the puzzle. Now, it's very easy to look at this with a judgmental eye and say, you're a sick person. That's somebody who would mock human misery, take delight in other people's suffering, that is a very sick, twisted, sociopathic... I mean, there's no end of the adjectives we can apply to that, which impart a judgment and a condemnation on it. But I don't think that's actually a useful way to analyze this. Obviously, the people, wearing t-shirts that say, I bathe in male tears, or who have coffee cups that say, male tears, or whatever, people who celebrate the misery, celebrate the pain of other people. It's very, very easy to pathologize that, to say, well, you're mentally sick, you're sick in the head. But as soon as we do that, we foreclose any possibility of there being understanding. All you're going to do is try to authoritatively condemn them and maybe forcibly have them medically examined, or have somebody look at their brain and what's wrong with it. There's obviously a human need either being addressed or being grasped after in that behavior. Obviously, if not fulfilled, then being sought for fulfillment, there is a human need there, which we see, because we're on that other side of the interface, we see this as pathology, as cruelty, as psychopathic, completely, almost beyond cartoonishly malevolent. How can this person be so sick in the head, we think to ourselves. And that judgment completely closes any ability to get past the problem and have there be an address of this issue. So here is my question. Big long lead up, like 8 minutes of me yapping to get to this question. What is being addressed? What is the human need? And I'm going to say human need because everybody, men, women, children, old people, young people, religious people, non-religious people, every single person has the same basic needs. But I don't know what the human need is being served or being sought after by what appears to be a completely cartoonishly over-the-top malevolent cruelty. And I'm sorry I have to use this judgmental and condemning language. This is just what it looks like. Clearly there's something behind it. And I'm asking, and I'm not asking MRAs, I'm asking feminists, what is the human need being addressed there?